So, folks, Andrew Tate has gained an enormous amount of popularity in the online space, but I have to say that his takes on issues, sometimes I think his diagnoses of American society, Western society, sometimes I think those diagnoses are correct, and then sometimes he unleashes takes that are just bizarre and weird and seemingly inexplicable. Andrew Tate, as far as I know, is still being held in jail in Romania. It's unclear how that saga is going to end. He's accused, of course, of sex trafficking, of luring women to Romania and using them as cam girls and all the rest of it. But all of this is beside the point when it comes to the popularity of Andrew Tate. I've talked about Andrew Tate on the program a little bit before and why exactly he's popular. And one of the things that I've suggested about Andrew Tate is that many of his diagnoses of modern society are not entirely wrong. Many of them, in fact, are correct. But his prognosis, his recommendation of the treatment is totally wrong. And this sort of disconnect is strange. It becomes stranger when you see some of the things that Andrew Tate has said recently. So there was a tape that emerged on the Twitters over the course of the last 48 hours of Andrew Tate talking about whether he would prefer to have sex with a male who had had many surgeries to look like a female, but still had not had bottom surgery, meaning he still had the full male appendages, or a very ugly woman. And I think there is something kind of important about the fact that there are so many young men who are drawn to Andrew Tate, and then Andrew Tate says stuff like this, or said stuff like this. It's bizarre. It only makes sense in a particular cultural context. I want to get to that in a moment. Here's what Andrew Tate actually said.
I recently posted a question on Twitter asking, would you rather have sex with a transsexual, which is a legitimate 10, or a woman, which is a legitimate 1? And everyone's sitting there clicking woman, 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 because they think they're going to be gay if they do anything else, but they're not actually thinking about the question. When I say a 1 and a 10, I mean Megan Fox with a d***, that's the tranny, or Hulk Hogan with a p***, that's the girl. This is the question I'm asking. Megan Fox or Hulk Hogan? So you're thinking, well, I don't want to be gay, so I clicked the girl, the number 1, did it? You're going to f*** Hulk Hogan? Okay, there's a p***, he's got mustache and muscles and shit. He's all hairy, big dude, 6'5". It's pretty gay to me. That sounds pretty gay. I don't care if it's that is gay.
Okay, so first of all, what? So on a variety of levels, what? So the original question that he apparently posed was, would you rather have sex with a 1 who's a woman or a 10 on the female scale, but is male? And so he launches into that bizarre diatribe. Now, none of this makes any sense. If you've been following Andrew Tate at all, and if you understand how popular he is, you understand that what he largely bases his image around is this idea of uber masculinity. And the uber masculinity that Andrew Tate bases his sort of image around is he's ripped, he's very muscular, he has a large house or a compound in Romania, he has a lot of fancy cars, and he has a lot of beautiful women, not transsexual women, but actual like biological women who he is in charge of, and he has a harem of these women. And this is what masculinity really looks like. And then you get this bizarre fetishistic video in which he's explaining that he would prefer to have sex with a male who has had many surgeries to look like Megan Fox than an unattractive woman. So what exactly is happening here? Well, none of this makes any sense. And frankly, none of our modern culture makes any sense. Unless what you realize is the reason that we are seeing the death of masculinity and the death of femininity. The reason that everything is falling into this morass of sexual chaos. And he talks about it actually at the very end there. He says, oh, it's all a sliding scale, isn't it? It's all there's no such thing as gay or straight. It's just a sliding scale. And the reason all of this is happening is because we have a society that has decided to discard the notion of teleology. Okay, teleology means that things were created with a purpose. Things were created with a purpose. Whether by God or by evolutionary biology, you were created with a purpose. Now, I'm a religious person, so I believe that God created us with a purpose. And what that means is male and female, he created them. Now, you don't have to believe in the Bible in order to believe that. You can also believe that evolution created human beings sexually dichotomous in order so that we are designed to reproduce. That's literally the purpose of sexual activity in the animal kingdom, is reproduction. There's the side benefit of pleasure. It is the pleasure that leads beings of all mammalian species to reproduce. But the reproduction is the end, right? The thing toward which sex is generally oriented in the animal kingdom is reproduction, because otherwise it would be no different than baboons scratching one another or something. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if male and female were created to do a thing, and if sex was created in order to achieve the thing, if reproduction and the one flesh union between male and female is the purpose of the thing, then masculinity and femininity are built around that act. What that means is that reproduction being the point of sex, teleologically speaking, not every time you have to have sex, you're not aiming for a baby every time, but the idea is that generally speaking, sex is oriented toward the production of human beings within a male-female context, because that's the only way biologically, historically, it has happened and will continue to happen. Because of that, so as I've been talking about right here, it's a weird clip from Andrew Tate. And you know what he needs? I think he needs some, traditional values like marriage and kids. Well, I have the marriage and I have the kids, and then I can't sleep at night. So that means I need coffee, like a lot of coffee. And Black Rifle Coffee helps make that happen for me. Black Rifle Coffee is fueling Americans before they go out and do epic things with their lives. Their ready-to-drink cans are crafted for convenience without losing quality. If you want a Spartan-level caffeine kick, try Ready to Drink 300, made with 300 milligrams of caffeine per can and an electrifying blend of MCT oil and amino acids that will supercharge your day. Ready to Drink 300 packs a serious caffeine punch backed by high-quality ingredients. It comes in a bunch of delicious flavors: caramel vanilla, rich mocha, and more. Each unique flavor combined with a large dose of wake the hell up. Ready to Drink cans are crafted with just the right amount of sweetness to perfectly balance out the bolder coffee-forward flavors. They do it with less sugar than many similar grab-and-go coffee options. So if you need the caffeine and you want the good taste, go to blackriflecoffee.com. Use promo code Shapiro at checkout for 10% off your order. That's blackriflecoffee.com. Use promo code Shapiro for 10% off. You can also find Black Rifle Coffee in grocery and convenience stores near you. I rely on Black Rifle Coffee to get me through the day. You should too. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee. Go check them out right now. blackriflecoffee.com. Use promo code Shapiro at checkout. 10% off your order. In this economic climate, with inflation continuing to soar out of control, you should be looking at your monthly bill and figuring out where exactly you can cut. Well, one place you can cut for sure is on your cell phone bill. If you're using one of the big guys, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, you're spending too much money. Instead, you should head on over to Pure Talk. Pure Talk saves the average family over $900 a year when they switch from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. That's correct. You can save $900 a year on your wireless bill and still enjoy ultra-fast 5G service. Get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $30 a month. Pure Talk is so sure you're going to love your service, they're backing it up with a 100% money-back guarantee. Stop paying a fortune to Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. Cut your bill in half with Pure Talk. Their U.S.-based customer service team makes the switch super simple. Switching over to Pure Talk in as little as 10 minutes. You can keep your phone and your phone number, and your first month is guaranteed risk-free. Go to puretalk.com, enter promo code Shapiro to save 50% off your very first month. That's puretalk.com, promo code Shapiro. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Again, head on over to puretalk.com, enter promo code Shapiro, save 50% off your very first month of coverage. Male and female are built around this. Women were built by nature or by God, whichever you choose, in order to bear children and rear them. This is their primary reproductive function. Not their only function in the world. It is their primary reproductive function. When it comes to sex, this is the purpose of sex. Okay, for men, the purpose is to generate offspring and then to protect and defend those offspring. This is not just true for human beings. This is true for primates. This is true for literally all species that have sexual dichotomy attached to them. And so sex and masculinity and femininity were built around these roles. And that's really important, because one of the things that we have done is we've exploded those roles. We've now disconnected the idea of sex from any sort of teleology. There's no purpose to sex other than whatever subjective pleasure it brings you. When you disconnect sex from teleology, things go wrong really, really quickly, and you end up with bizarre videos like this one from Andrew Tate and a lot of the other societal problems that are plaguing Western civilization these days. When you get rid of the teleology of male and female, when you get rid of the purpose of male-female sexual bonding, which is reproduction and then rearing and defense of children, and those have sex-specific roles because women treat children differently than men do. Women have to actually have the child in them, and women have to actually nurse the child. Women have to comfort the child in the early going, for sure. And men have to be out there protecting and providing. All of masculinity and femininity are built around these basic realities of life. When you sever that connection, here's what happens. On the one hand, you have people who demand that now that the connection between sex and reproduction has been severed, all the rules go away. Right? You can do whatever you want, and the only thing that actually matters is sexual pleasure. But there's a problem with that. The problem is that the animal instincts remain. The evolutionary biology animal instincts remain. And those animal instincts end up making you either quote unquote sexist or fetishistic. What I mean by this is that if you take all of the rules of tradition and you remove them from their teleological context, if you take all of the rules of marriage, which promoted, for example, chastity before marriage and outside of marriage, if you promote rules that suggest monogamy between two people, if you do all of that stuff, but you remove it from the context of, in order to create a family unit to provide for biological children, if you get rid of that, then all of that starts to sound really sexist. And this is what women are having a real problem with these days. A lot of feminists are having a real problem with this because they still have the same biological drives as women have always had, which is to, actually be with a person that they trust, a man that they trust. This is the general biological drive of women over time. Otherwise, human beings would not exist generation to generation. Women have had a drive to be with a man that they trust in terms of protecting, providing, and yes, sexual comfort, because that's true by every statistic. Wanting to bear children with that man. They still have those drives, but they feel that it's sexist to have those drives, and so they attempt to sublimate them, and anyone who promotes those drives is now considered sexist. Or alternatively, you end up with the fetishistic, which is what Andrew Tate is doing with this video. Because again, if sex is now disconnected from the teleology, then secondary sexual characteristics, your fetishistic idea of attractiveness, is now the only important thing about the sex. Now, human beings have been fetishistic for all of time. Human beings have wanted to have sex with a wide variety of things, for a wide variety of people, wide variety of types for a long, long time. That's nothing new. What is new is the idea that when you separate sex from its purpose, what you end up with is bizarre questions like, is it better to be attracted to the secondary sex characteristics of a transsexual Megan Fox, which is what he's talking about, or to primary sex characteristics? Now, the normal teleological answer to Andrew Tate's question is, you have sex with a woman because you can only, if you are a man, marry and produce children with a woman. Right? That was the original answer. When you get rid of that, then you end up in weird Andrew Tate world where he's talking about moving aside male appendages in order to have sex with transsexuals. Right? You end up in a very chaotic place. And you can see this in what Andrew Tate says very often. It's kind of fascinating when you see that Andrew Tate is operating in a context where the teleology of sex no longer applies, but he is still attempting to apply the old rules. He sounds alternatively to feminists, sexist, and to other people, fetishistic. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into riots in France. We'll be getting into the question of who actually bombed the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.